Abu Dhabi, 2021. The safety car rewrite that broke the world. This was the day Formula One stopped pretending the rulebook mattered. With 5 laps to go in the season finale, race director Michael Masi reinterpreted the safety car procedure on the fly, only letting some lapped cars through and immediately restarting the race, violating Articles 48.12 and 48.13 in the process. What followed was a single-lap shootout between Hamilton and Verstappen, with the latter on fresh softs. It wasn't strategy, it wasn't racing. It was sports entertainment with the subtlety of a descript. Fans rioted online. Teams threatened lawsuits. The FIA, cornered by outrage, blamed human error and rewrote the rules. After the damage was done, Lewis lost an 8th title. Max gained an eternal asterisk, and trust in race control imploded. Abu Dhabi 2021 didn't just bend the rules, it shattered the illusion that F1 was anything but political theater with carbon fiber props. Singapore 2008, Crashgate. What happens when a team orchestrates a crash to win a race? You get Crashgate, the scandal that turned F1 into a mafia movie. Renault ordered Nelson Piquet Jr. to deliberately crash at the 2008 Singapore GP, triggering a safety car that helped Fernando Alonso, coincidentally his teammate, win the race. The move wasn't just unethical, it was premeditated. On paper, that's conspiracy, endangerment, and a nuclear warhead to the sporting code. The FIA investigated a full year later, after Piquet spilled everything post-dismissal. Team principal Flavio Briatore got banned. Pat Simmons got exiled. Alonso walked away clean, and the win still counts. In no sane sporting universe should a rigged race remain in the record books. But in F1? Welcome to the grid, where orchestrating a crash gets you a slap and a spotlight. Belgium 2021. Points for nothing, no laps, no racing, just rain, safety cars, and a scoreboard. The 2021 Belgian Grand Prix was called after 2 laps behind the safety car, and F1 still awarded half points for not racing. Drivers were soaked, fans were livid, and the stewards read the fine print: 2 laps equals sign classified race. No mention of green flags, no mention of actual competition. So they pushed the cars out, circled Spa like tourists, and declared a result. It was technically legal. Ethically, it was a con job. The backlash forced the FIA to change the rule for 2022. But the joke remained. Spa 2021 wasn't a Grand Prix. It was a wet parade with trophies. In a sport defined by speed, F1 somehow managed to hand out points without hitting throttle. USGP 2005, the 6-car farce. 14 cars pulled out. 6 cars started. Zero logic prevailed. Michelin brought tires that couldn't safely survive the banking at Indianapolis. The FIA refused to install a chicane for safety. The Michelin teams pulled out on the formation lap. What followed was the most cursed race in F1 history. 3 teams, no competition, and a crowd that nearly rioted. The FIA cited rules are rules, but conveniently forgot the part about protecting drivers and spectators. Fans were booing by lap 1. Ticket refunds were demanded. Lawsuits were prepped, and the sport's credibility took a catastrophic hit in the American market. The real crime? The rules weren't broken, but the spirit of the sport was fed through a wood chipper. Spygate 2007, McLaren's industrial espionage. It started with a Ferrari employee slipping confidential documents to McLaren's chief designer. It ended with the biggest fine in sporting history, $100 million and total constructor's exclusion. But the damage wasn't just financial, it was philosophical. This was Formula One's Cold War, fought with photocopiers instead of pistons. McLaren insisted they never use the documents. Ferrari disagreed. So did the FIA, who found enough incriminating evidence to nuke the team's championship points. Drivers allowed to continue. Titles still counted. Accountability filtered through politics. The entire affair exposed the loopholes of sporting governance. What exactly defines use? What's the punishment for a team that maybe cheated but still raced? Spygate didn't just break rules, it forced F1 to pretend espionage had nuance. And somehow, everyone walked away except the trophy engravers. Austria 2002, Ferrari's team orders circus. It wasn't just a team order, it was a team humiliation. With a few hundred meters to go in Austria, Rubens Barrichello slowed down and moved aside to let Michael Schumacher win. It wasn't subtle, it wasn't strategic, it was raw, uncomfortable power on display. Fans booed. The podium ceremony was a mess. Even Schumacher, awkwardly handing Barrichello the trophy, looked embarrassed. The FIA fined Ferrari $1 million, but not for the move. For messing up the podium protocol. The sporting code technically allowed team orders at the time, but the blatant execution triggered global outrage. It was so bad the FIA banned team orders entirely the following season. F1 didn't break its rules here. It revealed how broken the rules already were. And for Barrichello, it was the day he officially became a supporting actor in the Schumacher biopic, British GP 1976 Hunt's illegal restart gift. James Hunt crashed on lap 1 of the 1976 British GP, rejoined via an access road, and still took part in the restart. According to the rulebook, that's illegal. But the crowd wanted Hunt to race, and the stewards suddenly remembered they loved ticket sales more than technicalities. Hunt won the race. The fans went ballistic. Everyone went home happy until Ferrari appealed and the FIA disqualified Hunt 6 weeks later. The result was overturned after the champagne was sprayed, the points were awarded, and the hype had done its job. This wasn't just a rule breach, it was a retroactive rewrite of reality, one that handed Niki Lauda a title lead, only to lose it later in the season. And for Hunt, it was a preview of the rock and roll justice system that carried him to his only championship. F1 didn't enforce the rules, it checked the vibe first. Germany, 2010, Fernando is faster than you. By 2010, team orders were banned. Ferrari knew that. But halfway through the German Grand Prix, Felipe Massa's race engineer uttered 5 infamous words. Fernando is faster than you. Moments later, Massa let Alonso by, and Ferrari told the world it wasn't a team order. It was a coded suggestion. The FIA fined Ferrari $100,000 but didn't overturn the result. Fans were furious. Alonso's win was tainted. Massa looked like a hostage. And F1's anti-team order stance was revealed to be as sturdy as a DRS wing in a hurricane. Technically, they didn't say let him through, but it was clear. Everyone knew. The phrase became meme legend, rulebook footnote, and PR nightmare rolled into one. The farce got so out of hand that F1 just unbanned team orders the next season. If you can't police it, might as well legalize it. Hamilton's 25-second penalty. Belgium 2008. Lewis Hamilton overtook Kimi Räikkönen at Spa in the wet, then immediately gave the position back after cutting the chicane. Clean, legal, or so we thought. 2 corners later, he repassed. After the race, the steward slapped him with a 25-second time penalty, demoting him to 3rd. Ferrari conveniently won. The rules at the time said you had to relinquish any unfair advantage. Hamilton did. But the FIA decided it wasn't enough, using vague interpretation rather than clear precedent. The appeals court rejected McLaren's protest by citing a rule that made the decision non-appealable. How convenient. This wasn't a penalty. This was a gut punch from a governing body that looked like it just wanted Ferrari to keep the title race alive. The fans howled, the paddock groaned, and the regulations? Still fuzzy as hell. Sometimes racing in F1 is less about the lines you take, and more about the flags waving in the stewards' hearts. Saudi GP 2024, Alonso's penalty gets unreviewed. Fernando Alonso was hit with a time penalty mid-race for incorrect grid positioning, only for it to be overturned post-race. Cool. Then in 2024, whistleblowers alleged FIA President Mohammed Ben Sulayem personally intervened to get that penalty rescinded. Hold up. That's a straight-up violation of the FIA's own structure. The president cannot meddle in stewarding decisions. It's separation of powers, motorsport edition. But in the house of FIA, the walls are more like curtains. An internal investigation confirmed credible evidence of interference. But Ben Sulayem walked with no punishment. It was swept away like tire marbles on lap 50. If the FIA president can change race results from the comfort of his hotel suite, why even pretend the rulebook matters? This wasn't a gray area, it was a power trip on 4 wheels. Flexible wings, Red Bull, Mercedes, everyone, basically. If you're clever enough, the car can break the rules while still passing the tests. That's the dirty little secret behind flexible wings, like Red Bull's rear wing in 2021, or Mercedes' front wing in 2012. They pass scrutineering under static loads, but flex dramatically at speed, giving straight-line speed boosts that made stewards squint harder than a Monaco bartender. The rules said no moving arrow. The team said define moving. And the FIA, they changed the testing thresholds after the advantage had already been exploited. So were the parts illegal? Not technically, but absolutely, obviously against the intent of the regulations. It's like hiding a sword under your shirt and saying, but it fit through airport security, so it's fine. Canada 2024, Perez's DNF strategy penalty rewrite. Sergio Perez binned his car late in the Canadian Grand Prix, just in time to avoid triggering a safety car that would have ruined Verstappen's undercut. The timing was convenient, too convenient. Red Bull didn't fix the car, they just retired it. And the FIA let it slide. Fans cried foul. Rival teams demanded action. Days later, the FIA rewrote the rules to say teams now must repair damage if the car is capable of continuing, retroactively justifying a penalty that didn't happen. This was legislative gaslighting. F1 didn't punish Red Bull. It rewrote the rules in their image, then acted like it always worked that way. The sport stared into the mirror and said, enhance. If you ever feel like your job makes no sense, remember, F1 can change the rules after the checkered flag and call it clarification. Schumacher's parking job, Monaco, 2006 qualifying. Michael Schumacher was on provisional pole at Monaco when he accidentally parked his Ferrari at Rascasse, blocking the racing line and ruining Fernando Alonso's flying lap. Cameras rolled, engineers blinked. Everyone watching screamed, "You've got to be kidding me." The stewards investigated. The verdict? Schumacher did it on purpose. The punishment? Disqualified from qualifying, but still allowed to start the race. That's like catching someone cheating on a test and letting them resit it during recess. The FIA tried to walk the line. We punished him, but not too much. But the message was clear. If you're clever enough and high-profile enough, the rules have elasticity. Monaco's tight corners weren't the only thing getting bent that day. Schumacher didn't just push the limits. He played hopscotch over them, then told the stewards they misunderstood physics. Monza 2022 safety car finish fiasco. The Monza GP in 2022 ended under the safety car after Daniel Ricciardo's car broke down late in the race. The FIA's excuse? Not enough time to restart. Fans' response? Abu Dhabi PTSD flashbacks and an orchestra of boos loud enough to shake the Duomo. But here's the kicker. This time, F1 did follow the letter of the law. It just highlighted how broken the law actually was. No red flag, no race extension, just a slow, confusing end to what should have been a Ferrari charge at home. In trying to avoid repeating 2021, the FIA overcorrected, then got roasted anyway. If race control is scared to act because of past mistakes, then who's really in charge? The rules or the ghost of Michael Masi? Sometimes not breaking the rules can feel just as criminal. FIA's secret statute amendments? Presidential power play? In 2023, the FIA quietly changed its own election rules, banning anyone over 70 from running for president. Suspiciously right after vocal critic David Richards turned 70. The change was buried in legal footnotes and passed without full transparency. Democracy? More like formula autocracy. This wasn't a racing regulation. It was a political ambush, hidden in the fine print of an organization that insists it's run by the members. The timing was tactical. The intent was obvious. The backlash? Muted, because who the hell reads FIA statutes anyway? It didn't break a race rule, it broke the spirit of fair governance, which in motorsport might be even worse, especially when the rule makers are modding the game mid-championship. If you ever wondered why the FIA feels like a Bond villain's HR department, this is Exhibit A. George Russell's swear jar, radio censorship gone mad. In 2024, George Russell dropped an F-bomb on team radio after being brake tested into next week. Fans applauded the passion. The FIA? They fined him. The justification? New personal conduct policies banning profanity in team communications. Because clearly what Formula One needed most was less authenticity and more corporate blandness. Never mind that it was in the heat of battle. Never mind that every driver in history has screamed worse things over radio. The rule was clear: no swearing. But the application was tone-deaf and selectively enforced. Verstappen curses? Laughter. Russell curses? Fine. In a sport that celebrates gladiators, the FIA decided to start issuing etiquette violations. Because nothing says world's fastest circus like a profanity policy enforced by stewards with zero chill.